GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? How
So
good is he? Let's get it. GMGP. It is Friday, November 1st. Welcome to November, man. Happy November to everybody out there. This is Wake Up with Ray and Jay in the morning. We had Thursday night football. Garrett Wilson, the catch heard round the world. We're going to talk about it. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, CJ Stroud, JRich. 2023 draft class. We got to talk about it, baby. We got to talk about it. What's popping with y'all, my people in the building? Joe, GW managers must feel relieved. It's been brewing. It's been bubbling, right? He's been bubbling. He's been brewing. And yeah, last night it felt real damn good. Garrett Wilson, 2 touchdowns, crazy catch. What's happening with you, Connor the King? Leo Scott, Slayer Stacker, what's up? Yeah, hit the thumbs up button. Thank you, big dog. Marcus Myers in the building. Jordan Baker, James Young, Florosaurus, Connor Lineberry, what's happening with you? GMGP to you, Connor. We got a show today. We got a lot to get through. I want to get through every game. Talk about some of the players, must-start matchups that we love, matchups that we hate. And yes, we're going to talk about Garrett Wilson, his big catch, my Dodgers winning the World Series. There is a lot of news. JRich, how are you this morning, my friend, baby? How you doing on this Friday, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm surprised that you opened the show with GMGP when it should have been JETS, Jets after a big victory. The 2-6 Jets get the victory over the
3-6 Jets.
6-2 Houston Texans. And Ray, I don't know if you know this. Do you know who Houston has to play next week?
Who they got?
The Detroit Lions. So when you're talking about a team like Indy making the switch to Joe Flacco, they got another tough matchup this week. But the division might be more wide open than we're letting on. I just wanted to say that.
I thought you were about to say something very wild here on a Friday, and I was going to stop you. But the Jets, big win, 21-13 over the Houston Texans, who looked pretty damn bad last night. JRich, and I'm sure we shall talk about CJ Stroud. But let's go ahead, man. Straight facts. Let's get into the news. There's a lot to get into, man. Let's go.
The biggest news in the world of sports. Covered and brought to you by one man, Jordan Richards. This is Straight Facts.
All right, everybody, so there is quite a bit to get through, so I'll try to get to it as quickly as I can. Let's start off with Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua, who left practice on Thursday. It's not considered to be serious, but Sean McVay did let the media know that Puka Nacua did suffer some semblance of a knee injury. It was the same knee that he injured and was out for the previous 7 weeks. But Mike Garafolo from NFL Network did report that it's not considered serious. That doesn't mean he's going to play this week, but it does sound like there is a very real possibility that he is just fine and he will be active for this week. Now, a player who may not be active is none other than DK Metcalf, who is still not practicing. He missed last week with his knee injury, and he still hasn't returned to practice. Tyler Lockett did get a full practice in yesterday, but Metcalf still yet to return, and so we're still left wondering whether he's going to be active. We saw how Geno Smith looked this past week without DK Metcalf, so hopefully Metcalf is able to get a practice in today and is able to go for the weekend. Now, on the Jags front, this is pretty interesting because both Brian Thomas and Travis Etienne did log limited practices. Now, Gabe Davis did as well, but we don't care as much about Gabe Davis. We want to know if Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be active, because if he is, you're probably going to be starting him this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Travis Etienne did miss last week, but should be back this week because he did log limited on Thursday, should get in a full practice or close to it on Friday and be active alongside Tank Bigsby. So the Jags could be getting some great reinforcements considering there was a potential that Etienne could have missed, and especially Brian Thomas was reported could have been out 2 to 4 weeks with his injury. Now, another one that's more concerning is Tony Pollard. A lot of people have been playing Tony Pollard because Tajay Spears has been out, and he's been very, very effective. Now, they may turn to Will Levis this week because he has been practicing this week as well, but they're going to be testing his shoulder. But Tony Pollard was a DNP on Thursday, and Tajay Spears was downgraded on Thursday to a DNP after getting a limited practice in on Wednesday with his hamstring injury. So we may be going into Sunday where they have to play the Patriots, which not a tough matchup, but they may have basically no running backs at their disposal, which could be a bit of a problem. So monitor Tony Pollard and see if he's going to be available, and same with Tajay Spears, because you could look at a situation where Tajay is the lead back, only back in the backfield, and same case with Tony Pollard, because both have been struggling to get through their practices this week. Tyrone Tracy and Drake May both logged limited practices after suffering concussions over the weekend. There is a chance that both could be able to play, but we're going to have to wait and see on them. It seems like it's going to be closer to game time decisions, but it's great that they're practicing already on Thursday and could potentially get in a full practice on Friday, so monitor those reports. David Njoku was also a DNP on Thursday, and that's more concerning because it's the same injury that he suffered in week 1. So he had the high ankle sprain and missed weeks 2 to 4, and apparently Wednesday was a rest day, but then Thursday he was dealing with some more injuries and wasn't able to practice as well. So if you do have David Njoku, you may have to make other plans. Jonathan Brooks, Carolina Panthers' second-round running back that they drafted, could be available this week, Ray. He has been logging full practices all week and could be finally activated this week against the Saints. T. Higgins is still not practicing DNP on Thursday. I honestly do not expect him to play. And why would he? If I was him, I'd want to be traded or get a new contract. So we'll see what happens with Higgins, but I would not be expecting him to play. Jordan Love did return to practice on Thursday along with Josh Jacobs. So the Packers could be in full force for this weekend. Big matchup at home against the Lions. But we'll see about Love. We know that he is dealing with that groin injury, but it was great that he returned to practice. I talked about Levis returning to practice, but their Titans aren't sure if they're going to play him or not. We'll have to see how his shoulder holds up. And then Lamar Jackson, Ray. Rest day on Wednesday. Now, they did get Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins back to practice on Wednesday, so that's great for their secondary, which is already atrocious. But Lamar Jackson may not be available. We will have to monitor Friday reports very closely because he hasn't practiced yet. They expected him back on Thursday. He's dealing with, I believe, back and some other injury as well.
And knee. I don't know what it is.
When you're putting the team on your back, it tends to draw some issues for you. And just so everyone knows, Josh Johnson is the backup quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Doesn't mean you want to start him, but if you're in some best ball leagues, you want to go pick him up, I wouldn't say that's a bad idea at all. And last but not least,
no.
I just wanted the people to be aware who the backup is, so they're not scrambling on Sunday. But, Ray, the Dodgers did win the World Series. You see me wearing the Boston Red Sox Mookie Betts jersey. Freddie Freeman, MVP, Canadian Freddie Freeman, by the way. Love myself the Dodgers, love myself some Freddie Freeman. It was great to see the Yankees melt down in that 5th inning. Garrett Cole absolutely losing his mind. Great World Series, great ending, and I was very happy with how it all went down. How are you feeling, Ray?
There it is, man. There it is. A lot of news, Jay. A lot of news. The Lamar stuff was interesting for me. Back-to-back DNPs.
Unexpected.
Hopefully he gets out there this week. And Puka Nacua. I mean, what are the early reports he's going to be active? I mean, what are we looking like here, Jay?
Yeah, so it wasn't that he's going to be active. It was more so what I was reading was that it's not going to be a long-term thing, pretty much for sure. It's not supposed to be serious. But I didn't see enough positive indicators that he's going to be active this week. That's the only thing. It wasn't like they said, yeah, he's probably fine. It's not going to be a long-term issue, but he's for sure playing this week. But if he practiced today, he should be playing it. And Garofalo basically said that he should be fine. It's just we're kind of waiting for that Friday report to make sure that he's going to be active on Sunday.
All right, Jay. Well, let's talk about the Thursday night game. It started off very, very bad. It was 0-0, I think, going into the half. It was not a good game to start off, but then it got rather exciting rather quickly. So let's talk about it and start with the winning side of the ball, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. It felt like this was one where they kind of got it going as a team. This was a must-win game for the Jets and whatever chances they think they still have. Still a very uphill battle, sitting at 3-6 in the AFC, and Buffalo looking strong in the AFC East and Miami getting healthier. Rodgers, efficient, 22 for 32, passing 211 yards. So it wasn't a huge passing output day, but 3 touchdowns, almost 70% completion percentage. And the consolidated targets that we've been talking about on this show that we wanted to see ever since Adams arrived, where it's just Adams and Wilson. And that's what it was last night. Garrett Wilson got his 9 for 90, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, 7 for 91. He got loose on that long, I think 30, 40-yard touchdown play against Jalen Petrie towards I think it was the third quarter or the fourth quarter, got open and really kind of sealed the game right there. There was nobody else that was involved in the receiving game. It hurt Breece Hall to a degree because he wasn't used in that way. Nothing for Braylon Allen. It was truly Adams, Wilson, and that's it from the Jets. And you like that consolidation right there. Breece Hall, 15 attempts, 74 yards, didn't get it done. And on my show this week, the running backs ranking show with Josh Norris on Hayden's channel, Underdog, I talked about being lower on consensus than Breece Hall this week. This offense right now, it does not seem like they want to give him the ball. And in the game script where it felt like it was very much a Breece Hall type game script, they want to throw the ball. And it just limits Breece, man. If they're not going to use him in the receiving game, if they're not going to give him, he's not getting 20 plus carries in a game. It's really unfortunate that he's not getting that type of work, but the Jets got it done. On the other side of the ball, and Malachi Corley, we'll talk about the Corley fumbling. You just got to stop. Run the ball. Like, how hard is it? Get to the damn end zone and then drop the ball, Corley. Come on, man. So that was awful. I want to spend let's talk about the Jets real quick because I want to spend a little more time talking about Stroud and just your take on this Houston Texans situation. What other big takeaways do you have from the Jets offense? Rodgers, Hall, Adams, do you feel better about these guys? And Garrett Wilson, after being force-fed 22 targets a long time ago and doing very little with him, in my opinion, he's continued to look like the best receiver in New York. We said this on the show. It's Garrett Wilson is the primary. You trust the Trinity. He's been a very highly utilized wide receiver. What we've been waiting for is just the quarterback play to level up to match his output. And it's happening right now. Garrett Wilson, I think over 22 fantasy points per game over the last 5 weeks. So he is not just getting it done. He's truly delivering off of volume, and he's scoring touchdowns this year. What are your big takeaways from the Jets in this matchup?
Yeah, so I'm not as concerned about Breece Hall, I don't think. While I'm with you, it is kind of the Aaron Rodgers show right now, and to be honest, based off what we've seen the past few weeks, we should expect that, right? Rodgers is clearly the guy who's going to either win the game or lose the game. He is no longer allowing anybody else but him to be in control of the outcome for these New York Jets. He had 15 carries. He averaged almost 5 a carry. There wasn't really anything there in the screen game. Like, you see the 4 targets, but half of them were dump-offs that just were never happening because they were broken plays. So I just don't think there was a whole lot for Breece to do outside of maybe getting a goal line carry where, once again, this is where Rodgers is so effective. In the red zone, he throws the ball and he scores touchdowns. He doesn't give the ball to the running back as much. He trusts his Devontae Adams, his Garrett Wilsons to get the ball. And we didn't ever talk about this because I think it broke late on Wednesday. Allen Lazard's on IR, so he wasn't even active in this game. Mike Williams, he got his 2 targets, didn't really matter. But now you really have a situation that is 2 big-time receivers and nobody else to really contend with them. Because while Lazard can and will receive targets when he's active, he's not going to be active for the next 4 weeks. And so that's great for those 2 players. Outside of that, though, I thought the Jets just played a good game. They played a good game against a good defense.
They played a good game.
Even Garrett Wilson's, I mean, you could talk about the big touchdown, the one that everyone's talking about, but even the other one, great throw from Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Jalen Petrie thought he had it, and Aaron Rodgers said, "Not so fast, my friend." And it was still a great catch from Garrett Wilson as well on the back end of that. So, like, all these plays, these are the type of plays that Aaron Rodgers makes. And then last but not least, Ray, we actually saw why Aaron Rodgers needs Devontae Adams. Because when the game is on the line, you have 2 players that know exactly what to do and how to win football games. And that is exactly why Devontae Adams is probably going to be just fine in New York, because he trusts him. And when it mattered most, 2 times he went straight to Devontae Adams.
Adams looked good last night. And despite what you may feel about Rodgers and the whole situation, it was kind of cool to see that connection one more time. I think it was the first time they had connected for a touchdown in 3 years since 2021. Yeah, since 2021. So it was still and you could tell it felt, watching it, it felt like a big sigh of relief. Like, we got one, man. Like, we still have this thing. You could feel it from Adams. He was flexing. He was excited. Rodgers was as animated as I've seen him in a long time. I think the head coach tried to hug him, and he gave him the, hey, don't hug me again, man. He ain't. Hey, Rodgers ain't trying to bone to bone, man. He ain't trying to tip to tip, no grown man. He's not trying to do the frontal hug. He's not feeling it, but he was very excited, very animated. Good win by the Jets. But let's talk about the Houston Texans side of the ball, in particular CJ Stroud. We got to start with the quarterback, Jay, and it was not a good performance. 36% completion percentage. It's Anthony Richardson levels of completion percentage right here, Jay. This is not good. 11 for 30, 191, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I believe he was sacked 8 or 9 times in the game. Joe Mixon was a monster. Yeah. Bell cow Mixon, as always. You just lock and load. Bell cow, 20-plus attempts, 100 yards, a touchdown. He's going to get his. CJ Stroud, man, just talk about it. And it's not just this game. It's been the entire season that he hasn't quite felt the same CJ Stroud-ish way as he did as a rookie. And a lot of sharp NFL people said, wait until defenses get a little more tape on him. The offensive line is 1,000% an issue, and he misses Nico Collins. I think Nico is such an integral part of this offense. As good as Tank Dell was for us, fantasy, NFL, 6 for 126, dope game, not nay one of them receptions felt like a knockout blow like Nico. When Nico gets some 50, they're going to the house. Like, he's scoring. Yep. They feel devastating. Not one of those Tank Dell receptions felt like it had the Jets on the ropes, felt like it had Houston in play. This feels like an offense that's struggling. It's missing Diggs. It's missing Collins. And the offensive line is not good. So you're talking about a team that's 6-3 right now, 4th in the AFC. I mean, they are tumbling down the power rankings, Jay. I mean, if you had to do a top 10 right now, even at 6-3, maybe 9th or best team in the NFL. Offensively, it looks a freaking mess. And my question to you is, where is the magic from old Bobby Slowick?
Yeah, that's the number one question. And that's the question I've honestly been having for a long time. And it feels like the entire season. You just go down the list, Ray. Opening week, they beat Indy by 2 points. Then the next week, they beat Chicago by 6. Okay, Chicago's got a good defense. Week 4, they beat Jacksonville by 4. They beat Buffalo by 3. They lose to Green Bay by 2. Then they beat Indy again by 3 points. Like, these are bad teams that they're not putting up numbers on. And, some of those games are with Nico Collins. And to your point, Nico Collins is the reason why some of these games, they're able to compete and contend. But in a lot of ways, you watch the Houston Texans, you say this offense isn't good. And it hasn't been good basically the entire year. If Nico Collins isn't making a big play, going for 150 yards or 120 with a massive touchdown, this offense doesn't really move the ball outside of Joe Mixon. And you talk about how great Mixon's been. 91 yards in the first half, 15 in the second half, 0 targets for the entire game. If he is one of your best players, who I believe he's had 100 yards from scrimmage in 4 straight games with 5 touchdowns, how on earth is this guy not getting involved in the second half? You're putting too much on the shoulders of CJ Stroud, and this is going into the locker room with a 7-0 lead at halftime. So you're winning at halftime, and to the credit to the Jets, they put up 21 points in the second half, but how do you just go away from Mixon entirely to the point where he can't even get going as well? So it does fall on the shoulders of Slowick a little bit. Stroud's a great quarterback, but he feels very Burrow-esque in the sense that when things aren't going well and he's getting pressured a lot, there's not much he can do to help the team win games, and they just lose games when he can't be a hero, right?
But I think he can do the off script. He's running around like he had 60 rushing yards, right? He's running around looking for it. Did y'all watch what was happening? Schematically, did you watch what was happening on the field? When he was scrambling, where were the deep shots going? Yeah, Tank Dell had a couple, but they got Dalton Schultz running seam routes and goes. Yeah. When you're running corners and seams and goes on the outside and Dalton Schultz is the primary target, that's a problem. So when he's scrambling to evade the pressure and move from the pocket, there's nobody downfield. Bobby Trees ain't doing that. Xavier Hutchinson, that's not in his skill set. John Metcalf. Nico Collins helps make some of the things and the decisions easier because it frees shit up for Tank Dell underneath. It will open things up for Schultz, and he will command the attention of safeties and defensive backs, helping the offensive line out. Like, all of that shit works in conjunction with one another.
Yeah, O-line is bad. What can help that? Having guys on the outside that can win quickly, get the ball out fast. When you're relying on Schultz as your downfield deep shot, he ain't separating from anybody. He's not getting open quickly, so Stroud's got to hold the ball longer, scrambling around and run. I see a lot of people in the chat saying a fraudulent 6-3. I mean, you went through their schedule and their wins, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them fraudulent because they're 6-3, but it doesn't feel like Baltimore's 5-3 or whatever they are, 6-3, whatever they are. It feels
Baltimore
a little
should
different
be 6-3 after this week, right?
from Houston. But Jay, real quick, let's have some fun. Let's have fun. And for everybody out there, nobody is panicked on CJ Stroud. He's got a rough stretch right now, but he's already proven that he can throw the ball. We know he's an accurate quarterback. So long-term, not worried about him. But you said this 2 weeks ago, and I keep telling my main event FFPC co-manager, Josh, we can't keep starting Stroud. I can't play him, Jay. You
can't.
We had to come to this realization with Mahomes, and it hurt a little bit, but we got there. Can you start CJ Stroud right now?
No, he only has 3 multi-touchdown games this season, period. It's just, if that's your output, and especially for a dude who, Ray, I'm looking at the numbers right now, he has 2 300-yard games. He's got 4 games over 260 yards. He's got, multiple games where he's almost under 225. So it's like, if you're not throwing for touchdowns and you're not throwing for a lot of yards, there's not a whole lot of fantasy value to be had. Yeah, he's running a little bit. But as you mentioned, there's times where he's actually has time in the pocket, which rarely happens because he's getting blitzed like 50-60% of the time, half the time when he's dropping back.
But
there is plays where he has time and he's looking and he's looking and he's looking and still no one's getting open. So it's just, again, it depends on who your options are. But yeah, you probably don't want to be starting CJ Stroud week after week because I think their schedule is going to get much tougher down the stretch.
All right, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun because the coolest thing in the game, come on, y'all. The coolest thing, because it's still football. You got to love it. You got to enjoy it. We're talking fantasy. But everybody, you got to appreciate it, man. The catch, right? The G-Dub, Michael Jordan-esque. It wasn't a catch, then it was a great catch. To get 2 feet down was way more impressive to me. As fast as he was, I think the fact that he got the second foot knee down was the most impressive part. But it was a dope catch, man. You watched it. You felt it. It was an awesome catch. My question to you, Jay, where does that one rank in the recent history of great catches? Because we've got a few examples, and everybody knows, like, the one that really kind of started it off, 2013 Monday Night Football against my former Dallas Cowboys, Odell Beckham Jr., and the catch heard round the world that just propelled him to superstardom levels. Odell Beckham Jr. We've got Garrett Wilson last night. We got a little sleeper one here for you. Remember this one? JRich, George Pickens versus Cleveland. Do we remember Pickens?
I do remember that one.
Pickens grab, one-handed, Trubisky falling away from his body. Nice grab right there by George Pickens. And then, Jay, this catch actually won an award at the ESPYs for the best sports moment in 2023. 4th and 18, playoffs, gotta have it.
Wasn't
on the road. No bigger moment. And the big dog, right? The big dog in Buffalo. I still get goosebumps, JRich, watching this one. I want to hear from you how you would prioritize and rank these 4 catches. Odell Beckham, Justin Jefferson versus the Bills, Pickens versus the Browns, and what we got last night from Garrett Wilson and the Jets. Rank them, Jay.
All right, so Pickens is last. No real surprise there. It was a nice catch, but it was a little bit unimpressive personally.
Wait a minute, Mr. Athletic. It was very impressive, but it was last on the list. I agree.
It was, again, I remember that catch because that was like his first or second game, and everyone like went nuts over it. And then it just, either way, it's last for me. I think that, oh man, I'm going to sound like a hater, right? I think Garrett Wilson got really lucky. Like, okay, so here's my criteria for a great catch, and so for me, it's Jefferson, and then it's Odell, and then Garrett Wilson. Here's my problem with why I don't believe that it's like this amazing catch. There's no defender in sight. It's not like there was any coverage. The defender was trying to make the interception behind him. he wasn't basically touched. He just kind of fell in the end zone. It's an extremely impressive catch, but it reminds me a lot of like this Antonio Holmes catch in the Super Bowl, because it's a catch that was a great catch, but what made it so impressive was his ability to stay in bounds in the end zone. And while it was a phenomenal catch to make that one-handed, the real impressive part was the footwork, not so much the catch, because we see a lot of one-handed catches, right? So it was great. And the thing with Jefferson for me is, while yes, Odell Beckham was held and it was behind his head and this or that, like, to do what Jefferson did on 4th and 18 in a gotta have it moment in the game where Kirk Cousins throws a whole shot, the ball wasn't even in his hands until about the very last second. It's in the safety's hands, and he rips it out of the safety's 2 hands with his singular hand, Ray. It's just, 4th and 18. Again, I love Justin Jefferson, and I think that, this is where great catches are made. They're made when there is defenders draped all over you, and you have no business catching it. It's why the David Tyree catch is one of the most famous catches of all time. It's why the Julian Edelman catch is talked about so highly. It's one of the greatest catches of all time, again, in a playoff moment in a Super Bowl. And it's why, for me, Jefferson has to be number one. I love Beckham's catch. It's phenomenal, but I still think what Jefferson did with the defenders all around him to do it in the way that he did it, in the moment that he did it, is what makes it kind of the best catch that I've probably ever seen.
Yeah, I want to know in the comment, man. I want to know. Comment below for those of y'all watching after the show. I'll say this. The Jefferson was by far the biggest moment. 4th and 18. He doesn't make an unreal play, you lose the game. And
they lose the game.
Triple coverage. I'm just going to throw this shit up. Jefferson's down there. So, I mean, this goosebumps watching this, Matt. This is, wow.
And the close-ups, like, the ball's literally not even in his hand until the very last second. Because the safety's got 2 hands on it the whole time. And then when you talk about, like, even Beckham, if you actually watch that play back, there's like 9 guys in the box. He's singled at the top of the screen, and it's just him and the defender, right? And he made a ridiculous play. And Garrett Wilson's kind of the same thing, right? Single coverage. He made a phenomenal one-handed catch, which is less impressive by the day because one-handed catches are just becoming more and more of a thing. And then, but the real ability was him able to keep his feet down, which was crazy. Don't get me wrong, that was crazy. But the catch itself kind of it was a great catch. That's just kind of how I stand with it.
Everyone, great job, Jordan Rich. Where's the applause button at? Great job, JRich. I mean, the chat they were ready to fry you, my friend. They were ready to put you in the grease and deep fry you, my brother. But they put you back down, man. They saved you. So we got 30 minutes to get through a lot of shit. So do us a favor on this Friday. Hit the thumbs up button. Like the stream. If you're watching now and you're not subscribed, do that for us. And if you're watching later and you're not subscribed to the channel, a lot of y'all are, do that as well. We'll be right back after the break. Hey, Jay, you got to let the beat drop, man. I'm over here just rocking. You got to let the damn beat drop.
I just got to edge you a little bit, right?
That's all. I need that joint to come in right now, but appreciate y'all being on the stream. It is Feel Good Friday, Freaky Friday, Fantasy Football Friday over here on the channel with JRich and myself. If you are not subscribed, make sure you do that. Thumbs up button, like the content, comment below. But JRich, RB1 on the week. RB1.
All right, who is it? Because last week...
I'm projecting 150 plus and 2 touchdowns in this game, and it's going to look beautiful. Bijan Robinson versus the Dallas Cowboys. It is happening. A 51.5 point total with the Atlanta Falcons favored by 3, which gives them an implied total of what? Close to damn near 30 points in this game, Jay? 28, 29 points for the Falcons. as 3-point favorites at home. This screams run the football. The Dallas Cowboys defense is awful. No Micah Parsons. Deron Bland is going to miss the week. No Tank Lawrence. No problem for Bijan Robinson in this matchup, Jay. From the Dallas side of the ball, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, and maybe Dak Prescott. Other than that, don't ask me. No, thank you. No Dowdle, no Elliott. I don't want none of them, Jay. I don't want any of them. 51.5-point total. I believe this is the highest total on the slate this weekend. What say you about this matchup, and what do you think Bijan does to the Cowboys? And don't forget, he's coming home. This is the final nail in the Cowboys' coffin. He is coming back to show the fuck out in his home state. It's really not his home state. He was in Arizona, but he played in Texas. So he's coming back. Once Texas gets you, we got you, man. We got you. So Bijan versus Dallas, Dallas versus the Falcons. What you got, Jay?
So, Ray, I want to be with you. I do. I want to be with you. I think 150 is a little bold, only because we've kind of seen this happen before, where Bijan will get his 2 touchdowns, but Tyler Algier will get his 14, 15 carries as well.
They're not fucking around, man. The whole team offensively.
But they don't need to fuck around. This team sucks, man.
Bijan, man. They are loaded up with touches. They're not playing around with this 50-50 split that it looked like at the beginning of the season. It has been all Bijan Robinson out of backfield, man.
I hear what you're saying, but that's against teams that are actually competitive. The Dallas Cowboys, Ray, I'm asking you the question. Are they a competitive team?
No. They're not a serious organization, no.
So if they're not a competitive team, there is a world where Tyler Algier can get his opportunities as well. I'm with you that Bijan is obviously going to have a very, very good game.
I didn't say Algier's rushing prop is like 50 yards. Yes, he's a top 30 running back on the week. I got Bijan at 1, Algier at 29. They both are going to find success against this defense. So don't use Algier as a reason why Bijan's not going to be able to get his. That narrative ain't going to play.
But why not? We've seen it happen plenty of times where we expect Bijan.
The last 3 games, they're not doing that. There is no split, Jay. There's no split.
Yeah, there's no split because the games are competitive. If the game's not competitive, which I would not project it to be competitive right now, I think Dallas is okay. I think they're playing better. But I think that if for some reason Algier fell into the end zone more times than Bijan, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. I'm with you on Bijan should have a great game. This projects out very well for Bijan. But every time we feel like we're ready to say, this is the game, Bijan's going to go crazy, he kind of doesn't because things don't break his way. So I hope they do. But my question to you is Kyle Pitts. We have Darnell Mooney and we have Drake London. Both are wide receiver 1s right now, if I'm remembering correctly. But Kyle Pitts, can he do it again against Dallas? Because last week he was great. But Kyle Pitts, how do you feel about him coming into this game against the Cowboys?
I feel good about all of them, Jay. 51.5 points. Pitts, Kirk Cousins, Mooney, London, Bijan, Algier. 5. I think you start off 5. Like
start
real talk.
5.
Don't you? And, you're not starting Algier as this high-end player, but I do think that all 5 are in play this week. All 5 of the Falcons are in play. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. If I have Kyle Pitts, I don't want to start him some ways because I'm not quite there. But, yeah, he's been good. He's been good. He's
been excellent. 100%. Give him his credit. He's been excellent, Jay. Yeah. Let's talk Miami and Buffalo. Miami and Buffalo, there's so many just different emotions, feelings, thoughts about this game. Let's just stick with who's going to perform for fantasy, Jay. Let's start with the Dolphins. Firing up everybody?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would not be firing up Jalen Waddle if I could help it. I would play Tyreek Hill because he's Tyreek Hill, but Ray, Tua Tagovailoa is 1-7 against the Bills all time, and he's got, I believe, 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in those 8 games. So Tua does not play well against the Buffalo Bills, and in particular, he plays even worse in Buffalo. And so while I do think there's a world where he could be okay and get 200 yards, get a lot of it to Tyreek Hill, and maybe Mostert can get involved because ultimately, the strength of the Buffalo Bills is the passing game to some extent when you compare it to what the running game can probably do with Achane and with Mostert. They should be leaning on the running game in this one, and I do think that Tua's probably going to have a mediocre game. Yes, he got knocked out in that last game that he played, but we also have to remember he threw 3 picks, I believe, in the first half before that happened, and it kind of mitigated what would have been a lot of criticism headed his direction. This is a 6-point game, Ray, and I believe they were losing, 30-7 at halftime?
6-point spread. This is this is little
Miami
respect
should
for the
get
Dolphins.
Miami should get smacked in this game.
This is little respect for the Dolphins on the road. 6-point favorites of the Buffalo Bills. Dolphins have not been good this season. Tua's got to work his way back. 49 points total, which is interesting. Tyreek, absolutely. Achane, no doubt about it. You're playing him.
Yep.
Mostert's in line for a flex option.
Yep.
Jonnu Smith, if you've got a stream and you're dirty and down, he's a low priority option. But if you got to plug and pray, and you're not in on Waddle,
even Tyreek is questionable
get
for
something
me.
Going. I'll say that. It'd be nice to see Waddle get something going. JRich. Let's go Denver-Baltimore. Denver-Baltimore. Bo Nix traveling to Baltimore to face off against the Ravens. And you sit back and you don't feel like it, but Denver's 5-3. Fifth
good.
in the AFC. Bo Nix has this team. If the season were to end today, they are a playoff team. The Denver Broncos. They are a playoff team. Sean Payton, man, coach, very good coach, very good coach. Ravens are favored by 8, 46.5 point total in this matchup. This is strength on strength. Ravens offense, number 1 overall passing efficiency. Broncos defense, number 1 against the pass. Ravens rushing efficiency, number 1. The Broncos 7th. This is truly strength on strength. We saw Bo Nix have a lot of success against a very poor Carolina Panthers team. We also heard Sean Payton talk about how bad Carolina was offensively. Let's just assume Lamar Jackson is in. This will be a better offense than what Denver saw last week, no doubt about it. But talk about the Ravens. Let's say Lamar's in. How do you feel about the receivers this week? Because that's where a lot of people are like, what do we do with Deontay? What do we do with Zay? What do we do with Bateman, Flower, Likely, Andrews? Where are you at with the 5 offensive weapons that the Ravens have right now that we all know they ain't supporting all 5 of them? So Derrick Henry, no doubt about it, move on from there. Zay Flowers, lock and load. You starting him?
I think so, yeah. I think the bench is Deontay.
I agree.
If Deontay is going to be the outside threat, which means he's going to be matched up with Pat Surtain, probably a decent amount. I wouldn't expect Zay to go anywhere near the outside because he's one of the only reliable options for this team. You probably just leave Bateman and Deontay out there, at which point you don't want to start either of those guys. This line, though, is really steep for me. Like, I think Denver can win this game fairly easily. People talk about how the Ravens defense is really good. They're number 1 against the run, but dead fucking last against the pass, right?
Is this our dog of the week? I'll take the 200, points. You're giving me
293. Yeah, 293 pass yards allowed per game is the Baltimore Ravens defense, which is worst in the NFL. And while I don't love Bo Nix, I mean, I'm not starting Javonte Williams. I'm not starting McLaughlin because this defense is way too good.
No.
Even with Marlon Humphrey back and Nate Wiggins back, this defense is still not very good to where maybe Bo Nix can do some things. And I'd absolutely be taking the over on whatever Bo Nix's rushing yards are because he's probably going to rush for like 60 to 80 in this game because the pressure will get there, but I think he'll be able to escape it.
I'm just going to say this is a road game in Baltimore. I know the defense is giving it up. It's been leaky against the pass, but this is still a rookie quarterback traveling to Baltimore. And, looking across the field and you see Lamar and Henry and you got to match that blow for blow. I like the points, though. +8. I wouldn't mind taking the points in this one. 46.5 point total, Ravens versus the Broncos. Jay, where do you want to go next? You want to go Green Bay and Detroit? Want to go some Packers and Lions this week? Look at this green. Is this Green Bay's logo?
That is definitely not their logo.
Yeah, this is yuck. I don't know what that is, but the Packers are 2.5 point dogs at home, 48.5 point total in this matchup. We didn't think Jordan Love was going to play, but now it's trending like he's going to play. If he plays, that's way better for all the weapons on Green Bay and maybe better for a potential high-scoring matchup in this one. So you got the 6-1 Lions, 6-2 Packers. Lions, you know what you're doing. Goff, top QB play on the week. You're rolling him out there. Gibbs and Monty, you start him. Laporta, you're feeling good. None of the other ancillary weapons from Detroit. So let's move to Green Bay. Jordan Love, you play him if he's active. No doubt about it. Josh Jacobs, you're rolling with him. My question to you, pass catchers, rank them. Reed, Wicks, Dobbs, Watson, go.
Literally the most impossible task every week is to rank the Packers wide receiver core.
You know what? You know the people are going to hold us 1,000% accountable, and we're going to be the idiots from this 2-minute segment that force somebody or cause somebody to start Christian Watson for him to go 0 for 0 for 0. Talk about it. Rank them.
Yeah, it'd be Dobbs and then Reed, and I think the rest are basically unstartable. Like, if you really want to flex a Christian Watson praying he can catch a deep pass, go for it. I don't love it, but I would consider it. But I think it's just the big two that we expect week in and week out. Probably Jaden Reed and
who are the big two?
For me, it's Dobbs and Reed. Yeah, I would still say it's Reed.
They need to use him. I don't know why they're not using him.
And then I thought Kraft
somebody
too.
in the chat a week ago said they think he was injured or hurt. I'll say this: if they're 2.5 point dogs at home, they're going to throw the shit out of the ball. Like, this is not going to be run it with Josh Jacobs, the Lions, Ben Johnson. I don't know if Wicks, I wouldn't categorize Wicks and Watson as benchable or unstartable. I think they're plug and play options. 2.5 point dogs at home. I like the total of 49 points. The script should yield to more passing. I like either of those guys as maybe a flex option. I wouldn't want to pick which one, but I don't think they're just flat out unstartable in this matchup.
Yeah, I think it's tough, right? Because maybe there's just something a little bit better out there.
I think it's even tough with Reed. I think it's even tough with Reed.
It is tough with Reed. That's where I'm with. That's what I'm saying. Like, Reed for me is like that flex option and hoping he gets the volume this week over the middle. But I think they will need that in the game. And then I do like Kraft as well because he's a tight end, but he's probably going to see 4 or 5 targets in the game and be more than fine.
Right, JRich. Let's go to everybody's favorite wide receiver. Right? It's so funny. We don't like Keon because he wasn't drafted high enough and he wasn't this, but there is no experience and no just team building thing in fantasy football like undrafted wide receivers and people latching onto the underdog. I mean, it just brings everybody together in the fantasy space like none other. If we need peace and healing, find some podunk wide receiver that was undrafted that we can latch on to and love and pump up, and that is none other than Jalen Coker this week. So let's talk about the Panthers, who are 7-point dogs at home, 43.5 point total. Alvin Kamara from the Saints.
RB1.
Chris Olave, full stop. That's it, right? And that's it. Full stop. Kamara,
would you start
Olave,
Derek
move
Carr?
On. I don't think he's playing. Is he playing? Carr?
He's supposed to play. Yeah, he's supposed to play.
My God. If you have to. If you got to do it, Kamara, Olave. I'm stopping right there. Carolina's the more interesting team to talk about the starts because Deontay's no longer there. We know Bryce Young is going to start at quarterback, and the Saints defense, awful, JRich. Awful. Over the last 3 weeks, they've given up 16 explosive runs, number 1 in the NFL. Their rushing defensive success rate, bottom 3 in the NFL over the last 3 weeks. This defense is awful. +7? I mean, if it's just Chuba Hubbard, I got him at RB14 this week. If it's just Chuba, I am.
You ain't talking about taking the points with the Panthers.
Chuba train if it's just him. But if it's Brooks too, I think they could find explosives against his defense. Pass catchers, Leggett, Jalen Coker. Are you starting either and or both of those players in this one, Jay?
That's tougher, right? I wouldn't love starting Coker. I wouldn't say I'm a cokehead this week. I don't know if you saw. He was asked about that yesterday. It was so funny. He was asked about his hive being called
his nickname, what he likes. He's just like, no comment.
He's like, I don't know what to say. Right. Kind of like it, but no comment. But yeah, so I only struggle with it because the secondary for the Saints can play well when they want to. And I just don't love the matchups for Leggett or for, like, they're hurt on the back end. They absolutely are. I just don't love Bryce in this matchup. He does not play well against the Saints. If you look up his games against the Saints, especially in New Orleans, he had one of the worst games of his whole career in New Orleans against the Saints. I just think they play Bryce very, very well, and I just don't really trust he's going to have a good game. Yeah, you're right. He looked good against Denver, and that's fine, but this is a divisional game. They're very familiar with Bryce Young, and I think they're more than ready for this matchup, so I'm a little concerned about Bryce in this game.
Joe over here talking about that Tucker Kraft yak score. That yak score, Joe.
Let's
Give me
go.
That yak score for Detroit. Where are we at? Leggett, a must start. I'm keeping Coker in second flex. Top 2 cornerbacks out this week for New Orleans. Saints bottom 5 versus the slot per Derek Brown. It's +7. If they're going to be underdogs at home, this is going to mean Bryce Young is going to have to throw the ball. Ultimately, here's where I stand on it, man. I like to bet on good offensive environments, and the Carolina Panthers is not one. And Coker, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the touchdown and a lot of his targets came in the third and fourth quarter. He's an exciting young player, but I'm not out over my skis this week. But what would be nice is to see Carolina, now that Deontay's out of the way, just see what you got in your young guys. Prioritize Coker, get Leggett the ball, get Jatavian Sanders out there. Like, let's see what we have. Is there anything that we can get mildly excited about as we move into the offseason in Dynasty for 2025 from the Carolina Panthers, who probably are going to have a new quarterback under center next year? Vegas and Cincinnati, the Bengals are 7-point favorites at home, 46.5-point total. You talked about it in the intro. Doesn't seem like T. Higgins is probably going to play. Maybe he's traded. I don't know. The deadline is tomorrow, I believe, for all of that to happen. Or is it today?
Isn't it? I think it's
week?
It next week.
Is it next week? Did they move it? Is it back? Is it back?
Yeah, I believe it's next week.
Next week. All right. Well, the Raiders are 7-point dogs, and this is a different looking Raiders team as well. Everything that they've gone through. Cincy without T. Higgins,
they look awful. They look terrible.
Yeah, man. It's been a tale of Higgins in versus out, but Cincy's favorite in this one. I mean, your starts, Jamar Chase, no doubt about it. Chase Brown, you're going to play him and pray that you can get some explosives against this defense. Zach Moss,
no way.
Gesicki or Eric All, Yoshi Voss. How are you feeling about the ancillary pieces?
I don't like any of them, really. It's not because they can't have a good game. It's just I have no idea what to expect from anybody outside of Jamar Chase. And even with Jamar Chase, Ray, like, we haven't seen this high target volume from Chase when T. Higgins is out. So it's very difficult to predict right now. And again, it's one of those where we talk about, would I rather start Dontavian Wicks or, Christian Watson or Yoshi Voss or, Mike Gesicki. It's very clearly the Green Bay side, and I think they have way more upside. But maybe if you find the right matchup against the Raiders, it's just I don't really trust it. And then for me on the other side, it's Alexander Mattison and Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. I would start all three against the Cincy defense because it's so bad, and especially against the run. Cincy's defense has been really, really bad against the run. So I still like Mattison, who's been getting a ton of touches, and especially certain percentages.
Inside my top 24 this week, man.
Yeah, opportunity should be there for him this week, and I think that Minshew will do just fine against the Bengals defense.
Yeah, Brock Bowers smash. We're not talking about the obvious. I mean, you're firing him up with full and total confidence versus the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, Jay, Cleveland and LAC, 42.5-point total. Browns are home dogs, 1.5-point dogs to the Chargers, who have been playing. Hey, Herbert's been playing good quietly. Like, he's quietly been really good. It's not just think about the narratives that we see on Twitter and players. How much Herbert have you seen floated around? Like, little to no Herbert talk. And he's quietly been really good in an offense that wants to run the ball, an offense that's much different than last year, an offense that really only has one dynamic playmaker on the outside. Kudos to Justin Herbert. Maybe in Dynasty, a sneaky little buy window from a still young, very talented quarterback that hopefully Jim Harbaugh continues to surround weapons around him through the draft and free agency. But in this matchup versus a Browns defense that limited to the King to 73 yards, and I'm using limits in air quotes because they only gave him 11 touches and he still averaged 6 yards a pop. But how are we feeling about the pieces in this matchup? Let's start with the Chargers. J.K. Dobbins, yes, right? Even in a difficult matchup, yes, we're starting him.
Yeah, we can start J.K. Dobbins. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. It's not a great matchup, but you're starting J.K. Lad McConkey. I know he was banged up, but I believe he was back at practice. He's a full. You're going with Lad.
Everyone's at practice. Everyone's at
practice. There you go. You got Herbert as well. Anybody else from the Chargers? It's those three: Dobbins, Herbert, McConkey.
Would you
Anybody else?
gamble on QJ as a flex option?
No.
Okay.
Cleveland.
That was the only guy I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Was QJ.
I thought you were going to
because
bring up Disley. I thought you were going to actually bring up Disley, but no.
Yeah, Disley if you want. I wouldn't say I'm all in on Disley against the Browns, but the thing about the Chargers is so interesting, Ray. Before the bye, Justin Herbert never threw the ball more than 30 times and never threw for over 200 yards. Since the bye, he's done that both in every single game. So he's throwing the ball more, he's more accurate, and he's throwing for touchdowns now. And that's the reason why he's so much better in fantasy, is because he's actually throwing the ball 30 times a game. He's throwing the ball for 200 yards a game, and he's throwing for touchdowns. He's got 3 in the last 3 weeks. Not great, but pretty good considering where Herbert's been. And they have DJ Shark back at practice. They got Quentin Johnston fully healthy and practicing, and they got Lab McConkey, who's been balling recently and is back available as well. So I'm curious to see how this offense looks. It's looking a lot better than we thought, and there is chatter of them adding at the deadline as well. So over the next week, there's been talk about Adam Thielen potentially going there. They're apparently in on Mike Williams as well. So there is potential to even add more to this offense.
Bring Big Mike back. Yeah, bring Big Mike back. Let's go.
I don't think he wants that, but there has been some discussions about it as well. So I think I like all those players, just whether or not you want to kind of gamble on playing another receiver for Justin Herbert. It's a tough question, but definitely Herbert's been much better than he's been. But where are you at on these Browns pass catchers, right? Would you start Jameis, Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, and then, of course, Nick Chubb?
I mean, here they go. This is week 8. Look at the best usage chart in the game right here, ddfantasyfootball.com. You got to trust it. Week 8, here go your 4 Browns. Ced Tillman, way at the tip top. 7.49 score, 30 damn fantasy points. Elijah Moore led the way, 8.09, 16. Jerry Jeudy had a respectable 6.66 score. Pretty scary numbers there for Jerry Jeudy, but 13 fantasy points. And David Njoku, 6 score, 17 points. And this is with Jameis Winston. It was very consolidated. If Njoku is out or limited, I mean, it's going to be more Jeudy and Tillman. I think, I'm just looking at how they used them in 1 week with Jameis Winston. I 1,000% think you can run all 3 of those pass catchers out there. I mean, you never feel good about Jeudy, but I believe you can do it, Jay.
Oh, that's the only part that gives me worries. And then if I had to ask you, because this is where it sways me a bit too, there's no way you think this game would go over, do you? Like, I don't think this game's going over.
I don't know, man.
42.5 points.
With Jameis Winston, anything is possible, man. With Jameis Winston, anything is possible.
Do you think we get good Jameis this week? I just feel like like all of that luster of Jameis and the speech and the big win, like I just feel like Harbaugh's not going to mess around this game, and it's going to be an ugly game. It'll probably be like 13-10. Because I do think even the Chargers offense will struggle against this Browns defense, but it's just, I think Harbaugh's going to be very ready for Jameis in this matchup, and it's going to be tough for him to move the ball.
One of our longtime and consistent viewers, Jordan Baker, is Tillman a long-term option? And I love this response from Jamal Thompson. He will be until he isn't. Love it. That is the answer.
That is the truth.
Jamal, that's what I'm talking about, man. That is what I'm talking about. Just like the great philosopher Glorilla once said, at the end of the day's got to end, Jay.
So stupid.
All right. Washington.
It's like a Michael Scott quote.
Giants. What are we doing?
We are benching all of our Giants, and we are starting all of our Commanders.
Quickly and efficiently, except Tyrone Tracy. Please, Tracy and Singleton, I'm playing them both. You're starting Malik Neighbors. I know you're being facetious here. Neighbors.
Yeah, starting Neighbors.
Tyrone Tracy, if he's active, and I think Devin Singletary, you could put him out there as an RB2-3 option.
But he didn't play.
Yeah, I think the last time they played, he did very well. And if Tracy's out, it's only going to be Singletary. So,
well, yeah, if Tracy's out. But I'm saying if Tracy's in, though.
If Tracy's in,
I wouldn't start Singletary.
No, that's what I'm saying. If Tracy's out, I'm rolling with Singletary. If Tracy is in, I would probably still start Tyrone Tracy, and I wouldn't touch Devin Singletary. So it's Tracy.
And you bench Singletary. Yeah.
Yes, correct. It's Tracy and Neighbors for me from the Giants and the Commanders, everybody. Jaden, Ertz, Eckler, and Brian Robinson. I'm not going to mention
B-Rob for sure.
Yeah, I think you could play all of them in this matchup. They're favored by 4 on the road. I'm good
And they
with
kicked
all
7
the
field goals last game, and they didn't score any touchdowns. I don't think that's going to happen this game. They're probably going to score some touchdowns this time around.
I'm with you. It's not. I'm spot on.
It's a short line.
All right, quick. New England, Tennessee. Hunter Henry, and that's it from New England. Ramondre.
Ray, honestly,
total,
I don't want to
Tennessee,
start anybody in this game.
Let me tell you this. Go look at the splits. Ramondre is a tale of 2 games. When the Patriots are projected to win and they're in the lead, he's a top 5 running back every time. Legit top 5.
How often does that happen?
Whenever they are projected to lose or in a negative game script, he is unstartable, like RB 60 to 80 range. They are 3.5-point dogs on the road with a total of 38. I don't feel good about Mondre in this one. Now, you probably got to play him. You probably have no other option, so you have to. But this is one where I'm not feeling good about the Jacoby Brissett-led New England Patriots versus whomever's at quarterback at Tennessee. So for me, plug and pray Mondre, Hunter Henry from New England. Tennessee side, it's Calvin Ridley, who woke up last week, and Tony Pollard. That's it.
Yeah, it's whoever starts at running back. Ideally, just one of Tajay or Tony. I'm fine with both those guys. And again, I don't know if I love it personally, but the Tennessee Titans still allow the fewest yards in the NFL. Ramondre is coming off a 20 for 48 performance.
2 TDs.
Like, that is dreadful. 2 TDs. But it was dreadful from Ramondre. He had nothing in the middle. They still have Harold Landry. They still got Simmons in the middle. Like, Tennessee's defense is still very good. So while I like Drake May, I think he could have a decent game to try and win them the game, and he could potentially play in this one. I just don't think they're going to be able to score at all on both sides of the ball. Now, do you have any concerns, though? Yeah.
If May starts, I feel better. If Brissett starts, no. Pop Duck, no, man. Kojo, no. If it's Brissett, nah, man. I just can't rock with. I'm not trusting Brissett. I've seen that story play out. This defense is still tough. I hope it's Drake May, man. Can we move on to another game?
I was just going to ask you about Ridley. You're sure on Ridley? I'm kind of
I mean, as a flex,
what if he has
who are you benching him for? Let me ask you this: Ridley or Jalen Coker?
I might start Jalen Coker.
See, no, man. Man.
The Pats' pass defense isn't bad. Like, it's not bad. You make it seem like they're trash.
They're Ridley not every time, like last week. It's just gonna be Ridley.
Will Levis, woo!
I know.
10 yards over the dude's head. Like, I don't know, man.
I feel you. I don't have a lot of confidence in him either.
Yeah,
Jay.
it's not a lot of confidence in both sides. Both defenses.
All right,
are
how
good.
much confidence you got in Flacco this week? Flacco versus Brian Flores.
Not a lot.
Minnesota 5-point favorites. 46.5-point total, so not one of the higher ones on the weekend. The Vikings need to get it together. 6 in the NFC right now. The Colts, like you said, they're very happy that the Texans lost last night, and they are very motivated to try to get atop this division. Joe Flacco's at the helm, and this has been a very chaotic week for the Colts, man. There's a lot of turmoil in it. The outward, at least, appearance that I've seen is players aren't very happy about what's happened in Indianapolis. Now, they are professionals. They go to work to do their job. I think this is one where they might get their shit kicked in, man. Minnesota just might come in this week with everything that's gone on and just really let them have it. The good thing for Indy is they do have Jonathan Taylor, so I still feel good about him. Not worried about the Brian Flores defense against Taylor. And with Flacco back, how confident are you with the pass catchers against a defense that's going to light him up? They are going to send pressure at a very, very high clip. You know what Flores is going to do and try to make Flacco turn into. How do you feel about the pass catchers from Indy? And we're starting Jefferson. You're starting Aaron Jones. I don't know if Hawk is active. If he was, I'd play him. And Sam Darnold.
I didn't think about Hawk.
Yeah, I don't know if
Hawk should be active in this game. He should be.
If he's active, I'm playing TJ Hawkinson. I would play TJ Hawkinson. But talk about Indy, man.
Yeah, so Indy's tough. The biggest thing with Indy is Josh Downs. You got to start him because Minnesota versus the slot is one of the best matchups in the NFL. Pittman, you can start Pittman if you want. I don't know if I love it, but yeah, you can start Pittman. Alec Pierce, I can't, man. It's too too many highs and lows with him. It's really just what you expect of Flacco. I just don't think it's going to be great for Flacco. I really don't. I think Flacco's going to be fine. He'll pass a lot. My bigger concern, Ray, is how do you feel about the Vikings? Like, do you think, because I've been talking about this for a few weeks now, that I don't think Sam Darnold's playing very well.
Indy, man. I think Jefferson goes off in this matchup. If Hawkinson, I think they're going to blast Indianapolis in this one.
Yeah, my only question is hopefully Sam Darnold plays well. I think he needs to have a good game here because they got some tough games coming up, and I think this is a good spot for them at home. So it's just, can Darnold play well? And if he doesn't play well, then what do you do? Because I'd be starting him this week, full go. You mentioned everyone else. Bears and Cardinals, Ray. Do you think the Bears can get a big win coming off that big loss last week? And can the Cardinals ride the momentum from Miami last week to another win at home over the Chicago Bears?
Hey, this should be a fun. The Cardinals are 4th in the NFC at 4-4.
Yeah, so they're still leading the division, just like they were on Monday.
This should be a fun game. This should be a fun game, man. Kyler versus Caleb. Swift the two bell cows. Swift and Connor. Bell cow Swift, bell cow Connor. Those are my two most confident starts in this matchup. Is he back to Maserati Marv, or is he just Marvin Harrison right now? Is he Marvin Harrison Jr.? What is he, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Maserati Marv? Which one is he this week? Marvin?
I think we're getting Mitsubishi Marv this week. I'm not expecting Maserati Marv against the Chicago Bears. But I do want you to rank the Chicago Bears wide receivers for this game, because just like the Green Bay Packers, it's just about impossible. Because I believe last week Keenan Allen was the top target in the game. Caleb Williams has a great matchup.
Keenan Allen.
Okay.
I'm going to go Keenan Allen, Romo Dunze, DJ Moore. Put him in a bucket.
No love for DJ Moore.
Yahtzee them receivers and see what you get. I got Keenan Allen, Romo Dunze, DJ Moore.
We got Nissan Altima Marv. We got Mazda Marv. Yeah, I don't think we see Maserati Marv this week.
Somebody said Mazda Marv. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Don't call Mazda Marv. Geo Metro Marv. Y'all out of line. Here's the thing. I don't want to say fire up all them damn Bears players, but I feel like you can't. I don't think last week was a true indication of what they are. I mean, they didn't do shit last week. Caleb was awful last week. I think they're better this week. This should be, I don't know what to do with this game, but it should be a fun one. It should be a fun game. I'm excited for this one with these two quarterbacks. And there are a lot of dope weapons in this one. Trey McBride, you got the tight ends on both sides. This should be a fun game.
Yeah, it's one that for me has a massively wide range of outcomes. It could be a Arizona blowout, but it also could be a Chicago blowout because they have a great offense and the defense can play great as well. So let's move on to Seattle. Oh, let's move on.
48 points?
The Seattle Seahawks are hosting the Los Angeles Rams. Ray, the Rams are favored by 1 point, coming off a massive win over the Vikings on Thursday night, so they have the extra rest. And the Seahawks getting embarrassed at home by the Buffalo Bills. Where do you stand on the weapons? Let's start with Seattle, because DK Metcalf probably not going to play as it stands right now. At which point, how do you feel about JSN, Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, and Kenneth Walker? And then let me know how you feel about the Rams on the other side.
Yeah, I like all the Seattle options in this one. The Rams defense, I'll say this, the past 3 weeks, they've been very good. They have not given up explosives to running backs. I believe they are second to Kansas City in the last 3 games, only allowing 3 explosive runs to the running back position. So I don't know what's happened, but defensively, they're doing something. But no DK Metcalf. We saw JSN be prioritized. I hope he gets some more downfield work, some end zone work.
Yep.
Targets should be there. The total is telling me that Vegas thinks that this is going to be a back-and-forth game with a very close one as well. With the Rams favored on the road, Kyron's going to do his thing. I have Kyron as RB2 on the week. He's matchup proof, a touchdown in every single game this year. He is one of the few bell cows in the NFL right now. So I think you fire everyone up. Noah Fant included. 48 points in this one. Fant, Lock. I would prioritize Seattle this way. This is how I prioritize Seattle. It would be K9, JSN, Fant, Lockett. That's how I'm rolling with him. That's how I'm rolling. Those 4 in that order. And then the Rams, if Puka Nacua does not play, are you starting Demarcus Robinson or Tutu Atwell alongside Cooper Kupp, who you are going to play. Cooper Kupp. If Puka doesn't play, do you start another Rams wideout? We saw D-Rob get 2 tutties. That's all he did. Got 2 touchdowns. And we saw Tutu Atwell get punted to the sun once Cooper Kupp came back. So who fills in for Puka? I think it's D-Rob. And would you play D-Rob in a matchup where they're favored and projected to score, 23 points, 23 and a half points in this one?
I don't think I want to. No, I don't think I'd want to. I feel like I could find a better option somewhere else. You did bring up Noah Fant. Noah Fant was limited on Wednesday and didn't practice Thursday, so hopefully it wasn't a
AJ
downgrade. But
season then
could be looking at a situation where he doesn't play, so I didn't want to bring that up. But yeah, it's tough, man, because even Whittington also practiced yesterday as well. He was limited, but he did practice, so he is back and could be an option for them. So it's really just, is it going to be one guy? Is it going to be multiple guys to kind of fill in for that spot? But hopefully Puka's just back and you can start those guys. You don't have to really worry about it as much. I'd probably lean Tutu though. I feel like Tutu just play more outside, pray for the deep touchdown.
I don't know,
but
man.
he don't really play that much. Like him, yeah, it's tough.
JRich,
it's tough.
Seahawks defense, they're allowing the most yards per play, 6.5 in the NFL since week 4, after allowing the fewest yards per play the first 3 weeks of the season. So I am Kyroned up. I'm beamed up for Kyron this week, as Jimbo would say. Bricked up for Kyron, man. I'm ready to go.
Bricked
man.
up.
Kyron Williams, I think he is going to smash in this matchup. RB2 for me on the week, only behind Bijan Robinson, who's about to just have his way with the Dallas Cowboys. Quickly, if Puka's out, DeMarcus Robinson or Jalen Coker? Coker's gonna be the litmus test for every player today.
I would start Coker.
You'd start Coker over D-Rob with Puka out?
Yeah.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid, man.
I just think he can get 10 targets in a game. Doesn't mean they're going to be a good 10 targets, but I just think he can get 10 targets in the game. Right.
Philly, 7.5. Jags, depleted, hurting, potentially no BTJ. Hopefully he plays. What do we need to say? Who you start? You're starting everybody from Philly. Everybody. At home, 7.5-point favorites.
Smitty, AJ Brown, Saquon,
Smitty, AJ Brown, Hurts, Saquon. If Goddard plays, sure.
Goddard's still dealing with a hamstring injury.
Cool.
So probably not going to play.
There it is. Those are your starts for Philly. Jacksonville. T-Law, starter sit. Last week you nailed not so obvious start of the week with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if we want to play that game on the road in Philly this week, JRich.
I don't hate it, but they are trading away offensive linemen, which is not great.
No, what are
right?
they? Yes.
They are trading away offensive linemen, which is not good. But I do think there will be some, again, if everyone is healthy, Gabe Davis, BTJ, Christian Kirk. I mean, Christian Kirk's barely done anything all season long. The question for you, Ray, Parker Washington. If BTJ doesn't play, he's probably startable.
No.
You don't think so? I think he's startable.
I don't want to.
Because I personally think Philly is going to put up 35 on the Jags, just like they did last week. Last week they put up, I think it was 37 or something like that on the Bengals. I think you see a very similar output. This defense is atrocious. It will be a lot of catch-up probably from Jacksonville on the other side.
Parker Washington.
Do I get BTJ out?
Yeah, BTJ's out.
Parker. I would start Parker. Oh, and we didn't talk about Engram, too.
Parker Washington or Calvin Ridley?
I'm starting Parker Washington. I'm doing it.
I'm doing it.
I don't like the matchup.
Okay, no, let me keep Parker Washington or Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore's got a great target share.
You said what?
Elijah Moore's got a great target share right now.
Good. Parker Washington or one of the 2 Green Bay Packers wide receivers you said to sit. Wicks or Christian Watson?
Parker Washington.
All right. Tampa Bay, Kansas City. Kansas City favored by 8.5 at home. This feels, what do you think about this line, Jay? 8.5 against Baker Mayfield, who's going to throw the ball 70 times.
It's very steep. Chiefs don't cover big numbers. They never do. They couldn't even beat the Raiders.
They didn't even cover against the Raiders. They didn't cover against the Raiders. They were 10.5-point favorites against LV.
Yeah. It's tough because I believe I heard on Mayo's show they're 7-2 against the spread this year. but big numbers, KC does not tend to cover those numbers. And, someone was asking about, I believe it was Tucker Kraft versus Cade Otton. The answer is Cade Otton. The answer is always Cade Otton. If you have a question as to who to start, even Cade Otton versus Travis Kelce, I'm probably still taking Cade Otton. So it's just, this game's tough because it's a Monday night game. So we haven't heard a lot of practice reports right now. We're getting the early reports. And, one of the reports actually raised that they're going to be managing the injury of Bucky Irving to where he's not going to practice much, but he is going to be available to play. So he should be more than fine. But yeah, pass catchers wise, I mean, a fucking awful last week trying to predict who's playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Too, Jay. This is a
low total.
Man.
But you can't run against Kansas City, so they're going to just throw the ball.
What are we doing? What are we doing, KC? Kareem Hunt is inefficient as hell, but he's getting 30 opportunities. Fire him up. Yep. Full steam go. Travis Kelce locked and loaded. Nuke Hopkins, you're playing him. Wherever you got to prioritize, you're playing him. You are, aren't you? You're playing him, right? You're playing him.
Probably.
That's it. What about Mahomes versus Tampa Bay?
Juju's still out. No.
Mahomes versus Tampa Bay.
I don't want to. Would you rather start Mahomes or Baker?
Oh, Baker. The script. 8-point dogs on the road.
Baker. It's Baker. Baker.
Just throw the ball. But if we're starting Baker, what options are we starting? Let me ask the chat this. Chat, help me and JRich out. What's been the chatter from Tampa Bay this week? Is it more McMillan? Is it more Raheem Jarrett? Is it all Cade Otton? What's been the chatter from the Tampa Bay Sentinel about what the hell they're going to do this week, Jay? I really don't know. I don't know if it's the Tampa Bay Times, the Tampa Bay Sun, the Tampa Bay Sentinel. Don't know, but I just need to know what Tampa Bay is going to do offensively against Kansas City, because what they won't be able to do is run the ball. They're not going to be able to run the ball against this defense. It's impregnable, Jay. It's impregnable. You can't. It don't matter how deep you go. It ain't getting pregnant. You're not going to be able to run against this defense. So who are going to be the options? If we're starting Baker over Mahomes, if we rather Baker in this matchup, what's the chatter with the pass catchers?
I mean, you look last week, Bucky Irvin, 7 targets, Rashad White, 6 targets, McMillan, 7 targets, Ryan Miller, 5 targets, Sterling Shepard, 5 targets. It's really the guy you can trust is Cade Otton, and I think number 2 is Jalen McMillan. I don't love it, but again, I wanted it to be Shepard because he's the slot guy and he did get hurt and he's dealing with an injury, but McMillan has been getting targets on the outside in the absence of Mike Evans, and that was kind of always the case, even early in the year. He was the guy that won that outside wide receiver spot opposite of Mike Evans with Chris Godwin in the slot. But in a lot of ways, it feels like it's just a Cade Otton game. Like he's just going to go crazy once again because the Chiefs matchup for tight ends is great. Maybe the RBs continue to catch passes out of the backfield, which is fine. And it's why I like Baker. Like the thing with Baker is I like him to throw for touchdowns, but do I know who they're going to? Absolutely not. It's a very similar reason why I love Jordan Love. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to chuck it. But who is he throwing it to? Hell if I know, because it could be any of 6 guys week in and week out.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one on Monday night. I wanted to touch on that because I know people are going to have some of those pass catchers on rosters, and like, do I sub a McMillan out for Tyler Lockett or for Dontavian Wicks? Or that's why. Would you play any of those guys over a lot of the receivers we named, like the Cokers, the Wickses, the Watsons?
I think the situation's a little too volatile and too tough to predict right now. Could they be fine? Absolutely. But when you're looking at a Coker or a Parker Washington without BTJ in the lineup, I just feel like you're looking at more certain targets. And that's really what I'm betting on for these flex options is how certain do I feel a player can get 6 to 7 targets in a game? And I'd be pretty certain about those guys because there's just less options available. And Baker is truly spreading it around this year. Even like, yes, he throws the ball to Evans and Godwin a lot, but the other guys are getting involved as well. And now with those guys out, it's really just who's open because there's no design plays for anybody in the offense anymore.
Oh, this is easy. Braden Scott says, appreciate the comment, Braden. Appreciate the subscription and support to the channel. Start 2, Baker, Allen, Mahomes, Flacco. Who you starting? Allen, no doubt. Come on,
Allen,
that's easy.
So, would you rather
Baker,
start
Mahomes,
Flacco than Baker? I think I'm still Baker. I think I'm still Baker. Would you rather start Flacco or Baker?
I'm still Baker over Flacco. And
I'm
Lawrence
okay
Savage,
if you want to start Flacco.
Lawrence, I'm not going to call it, Lawrence Savage said Baker been talking up Raheem JRich. What I say on Monday that I just like the peripherals. I like the peripherals of Raheem JRich. So
go Terps.
Yeah, I think the real answer is Cade Otton. I think the true answer is Cade Otton, and you probably don't want to play around with some of the other pass catchers, man. Allen and Baker, that
Flacco's
had
his game, so if you really want to bank on it, I don't hate it. But it's just, I think I just like what Baker's doing right now. Even in a matchup against the Falcons, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, like, dude's just getting it done week in and week out.
Hit the music, Jay. Do I pick up Raheem JRich or Parker Washington off of Dynasty waivers?
Washington.
You know what, though? You've got some hidden bias. You've liked Washington since Penn State. I remember.
I did like Parker Washington at Penn State.
You like Parker Washington at Penn State.
He showed out in multiple instances. Even last season, he had some good games when players were out. Because he filled in for Calvin Ridley a bit last year. Jimbo's saying there's a super chat.
Hey, Jimbo, I got it this week. There it is, baby. Jimbo, appreciate the super chat, big dog. Me too.
Why?
PPR. Jimbo, why do you...
Never Javonte, ever. Sutton and Chase Brown.
Phone? Jimbo, send me your number, man. Let me give you $2 back. Why do you do this to us, man? Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Chase Brown. Chase Brown is one of them. Sutton or Javonte, JRich? Versus Baltimore. Sutton.
The number one rush defense or the worst pass defense?
Chase Brown, then go to waivers and pick up Raheem JRich or Parker Washington.
There we go.
And start one of those guys. Find
Baker
somebody
or Dak.
You don't want to start Javonte versus. We got another one? We had another one?
No. Jeff is asking Baker or Dak. That's really interesting for me. I kind of want to say Dak.
Dak can garbage you. Dak.
Oh, yeah, he can.
Adam OTC, appreciate you. You have a good weekend as well. Otton over McBride? Hell no. No.
Maybe not. Just find a way to start them both. They'll both be good this week.
Richie said I was popping Viagra earlier on the show. I took a pill and he said I was popping Viagra on the show. Man, get the hell out of here, Richie. We appreciate everybody. Yeah, that tall guy you know said never Javonte. You right, JRich. Got a lot of love today. Jordan Richards, wrap the show up.
Had a good show.
Wrap the show up, JRich. That's what I'm talking about, man. Wrap this shit up, Jay.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to all the content we put out each and every day. We will have the trade show popping off tomorrow with Ty and Gabe. And make sure you tap into the Start Shit Show.
Usage tonight.
Usage tonight.
Usage tonight. Yeah, I'm going to do it right after here. Usage tonight. I'm going to just go through some names. Usage tonight. Put Coker on the thumbnail. We gotta clickbait the shit out of this Coker thing, man. Put him on the thumbnail.
Coker with French Montana. We'll put Coke Boys on the thumbnail.
Ooh. Let's go.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But thank you to everybody for tapping
French
in.
Montana on a Friday. Let's go.
You know what I'm saying. But yeah, thank you to everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. I would say start shit from when we did that long time. Start Shit Show with Mitch and John on Sunday morning. But tap in all weekend, all the content. We got injury podcasts, college football podcasts dropping on Saturday, and we will see you guys on Monday. We're out.
We out.
Peace.
Peace.